Hi, listeners. Jenna here. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting the podcast and listening to all of my great interviews that I've done so far. I hope to continue bringing you more amazing interviews with people that are right here in our community of Grand Prairie. But to do that, I need your help. If you love what I'm doing and want to see me do more, I want to offer you a chance to support the podcast financially by making a donation to our PayPal account, which is at the Faces of Grand Prairie. It goes to help me with editing software, recording platforms and equipment, and my time so that I can keep bringing you quality interviews with people from around our city. No donation is too small, and all are very much appreciated. Again, that's our PayPal account, which is at Faces of Grand Prairie. Thank you so much in advance, and on to the interview.
Hello, this is Jenna Pecor, host of the Faces of Grand Prairie podcast. Can't even talk today. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I've had enough coffee. But anyway, I'm here today with Tiffany Ross. She is a friend of mine. Hi, Tiffany. How are you?
Hi. Thanks for having me today.
Yes, thanks for being on. So, Tiffany, tell everybody what you guys do for your business.
So, my husband and I own Siteguard Inspection Services. We are a residential and commercial inspection firm. So what that is and kind of what that does, if people who aren't familiar with the real estate industry, what that is we come in when you've worked with somebody like Jenna, a realtor, and you are in your option period. We come in to ensure that the home is kind of not really ensure, but we go in to check how the overall home is performing. So we look at everything on the house from the roof to the foundation and everything in between. So we make sure that the roof is in good condition. We look at your HVAC system and your water heater in the panel box. We check all your plumbing and electrical. And then we check all the code and safety items. And we document those for you in a really pretty paper presentation. And we give that to you while you're there and let you know kind of how the home is, what condition it's in, how it's performing. And then they wind up working with their realtor like you, and they decide if they want to move forward with the home, and if they do, what kind of repairs they want the sellers to do. And so that's kind of what we do in a nutshell.
Yeah. Okay, Tiffany, hold on. I'm going to go turn my dryer off because I just realized it was on and it's about to make this noise. Hold on.
Okay.
I'll cut that part out, but I know what's going to happen is it's going to start going meh, meh, and it's going to be very annoying. Okay. So the inspection is, and a lot of people get kind of confused about like, what is the inspection and what is it for and who is it for?
Yes.
And so the inspection is for the person purchasing the home. It is not done for the bank. It's not done for the seller. It's done for the purchaser to make sure that they know the condition of the home.
That's right. A lot of times we'll get confused with appraisal also.
Yes.
And we have to let people know that we're not here to provide you with a value of your home. We're here to assess the condition of it and let them know that we're here to work for them. So we work for the client or the purchaser, the buyer, whatever title you want to give them. That's who we're here for, and that's who we are here to represent and take care of and make sure they have a firm understanding that the dream home that you found them truly is that.
Right. And they're also not handymen.
No.
So they can't, you know, it's like Nathan is your husband. He's the one that does the inspections. And it's not like he can go, okay, well, this is what's wrong. This is how much it costs to fix it. This is how, this is how long it will take. Like, and so he does have an understanding somewhat of things, but it's not to get the idea of how much it's going to cost to repair. It's just to get the condition of the home.
Right. So an inspector isn't there to repair or replace any items. He's there to inform of the condition of it and how it's currently performing. And then as an inspector or as a realtor, you can then provide a resource or a reference for someone to come in and actually further evaluate. So when we're working with a new buyer or client, someone who's never purchased a home before, I like to kind of explain it to them this way. An inspector is a general practitioner. So he's like your family doctor. You're going to come, you're going to meet him. He's going to tell you all the things that are going on. He gives the home basically a physical. And then after that physical is done, you work together to find somebody who is a specialist. And then you go to that specialist to have that issue further evaluated and corrected if needed.
I love that analogy. That is such a great analogy. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's like he comes in, he does the tests on all the major areas of the home. He tests to make sure that the air conditioner is blowing at the temperature it's supposed to be blowing, that the toilets are flushing, everything's coming on, the electrical panel is functioning properly. And then so if there is a problem, that we know how to move forward. And none of that goes to the bank.
Nope. None
of the report goes to the bank. The report doesn't even have to go to the seller if the buyer doesn't want for the report to go to the seller.
Correct. Yeah.
It's purely for the advantage of the home buyer that is buying that home to ensure that they understand the condition the home is in. So a question that I always am curious about, and I do talk to Nathan about this when I see him, there's a lot of parts of the house.
Yes.
And there's a lot of codes that are constantly changing on the various parts of the house. So how much education does he have to do every year to keep up with all that?
So he has, just like realtors, he has continuing education that he has to take every year. He has to take standards of practice and legals and ethics, just like you guys do. And then he can then do optional courses to kind of just further his education. And I believe it's 32 hours of continuing education every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has courses that he takes. He has additional certifications outside of just being a standard home inspector. So he has a certified applicator's license for to perform the wood destroying insect inspection. So outside of us owning Siteguard Inspection Services, we also own our own termite and pest company called Insect Detect, and we hold the license for any inspector who works with us so that they can perform the inspections. He has a certification to perform septic system inspections. Not a lot of inspectors do that, and so he's actually certified to not only inspect them, but also to repair or install them. He doesn't want to do that, but he just wants to do the inspection portion, but he does have that certification. And then he has certifications to provide pool and spa inspections. Not a lot of inspectors do, and you don't have to have the certification to inspect it, but it's always good to just double check. And a list of all and he's got a couple others, but all of that's listed on our website. If you go to the Meet the Team section on our website, and you can see his credentials as to how long he has been doing this and what kind of construction background he has and things like that. So it takes a lot of education. The primary education takes about a year because you have a lot of classwork that you have to do, and then you have to do some in classroom stuff and kind of see how things go. And then for us, when we bring on an inspector, we have a 90-day training period to ensure that they are true Siteguard material and that they're performing at the level that we think meets what our clients and realtors expect.
Do you guys have to do any type of apprenticeship whenever you become an inspector?
So you can do an apprenticeship when you become an inspector, but in order to have apprentices under you, you have to have qualified with TREC in order to do that. And so that's an additional qualification that you have to have. It's not something that's necessarily difficult to get. It's just a little time consuming, but you can be an apprentice and go through that route. You still have to pass the state tests, national tests, and so on. But you can do that as well. And you can find out if you're wanting to become an apprentice inspector, you can actually go to the truck website and see who are the qualified people to provide that apprenticeship for you.
Wow. I always learn new things whenever, because the way that it works, and I kind of want to talk for a minute just to the general public about some things to look for when you are hiring an inspector. And you can get an inspection on your house without even being under contract. Like if you just really are about to put your house on the market, getting a house inspected beforehand, especially if you have in your mind, if you think that there's tons of stuff you need to do before you spend money on doing any of those things, hire an inspection service to come by. It's very minimal cost, depending, and it goes by the square footage, but it's for a few $100s really.
Yeah, and we offer, as a company, we actually offer different types of pre-listing inspections, and a lot of our competitors do the same thing. So we can come in and do a full inspection just like we would if they were purchasing a home, or we can do a 6-point inspection, and that's going to cover your major systems plus your kitchen appliances. And a lot of competitors, our competitors or fellow inspectors, however you want to refer to them, we do the same thing. And so it gives you just an idea of what needs to be prepared or what needs to be repaired or potentially replaced. And then that way, when they do work with you, you have the ability to now list it at the highest price possible for them.
Yes, and you also know what it's going to take to get certain things fixed, or if it's even necessary. And I will, with everybody spending so much time in their houses right now, I'm sure you're sitting in the middle of your home going, well, that leak's been going on for the last 10 years. We've just tolerated it. Maybe it's time to get that fixed. Or, you're kind of looking around and you think, oh, my house is so run down, or it's got all these problems, because you've lived there and you live with its quirks and it's different things. But you might be really surprised. And Nathan has done a few of those pre-listing inspections, and the sellers were always surprised at how little stuff actually needed to be addressed that they assumed was supposed to be addressed, and they would have spent thousands of dollars getting that fixed without it being necessary.
Yeah, I think a lot of times the things that we would think we need to repair or we need to update aren't always the things that get you the best value. And then sometimes we're often surprised, when you live in your house, like you said, you see it every day. You kind of become nose blind to certain things, or just you don't realize that maybe the faucet drips, but you don't hear it anymore because it's been doing that for a long time. And so when the inspector comes in and finds those things and identifies those things, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, no, that's something that's really easy. But if you maintenance your home properly, like you're supposed to, change your air conditioning filters and clean out your gutters and just do the things that we all know that we're supposed to do, then you don't have to worry about a lot of that stuff.
Right. You do become acclimated over the years.
Yes.
You become acclimated to your home's little quirks and its different unique personality. But there's a lot of things that you can do in your house that literally cost you no money, that just requires a little bit of elbow grease. You just mentioned the gutters. That's one of them. I actually went and showed a house not too long ago where the gutters were so full, there was a tree growing out of the gutter. That's how long it had been like that. And I'm like, all it would have taken is just a leaf blower or a hose or something just to rinse it out every once in a while. And so there's a lot of things we could be doing. But one thing that Nathan and I think Nathan does it more than you do because he's out in the field, but he'll post on y'all's Facebook page some of the really, really odd stuff that he comes across.
Yeah. It's some of them we have a phrase that we like to use here in the office and just in general at Siteguard. And it's, what the DIY were you thinking? And because you would be, some of the stuff he comes home with and shows me, I'm just like, oh, good Lord. Like, oh, this is why we hire professionals, because, to quote a photographer friend of mine that I know, I can cut my own hair, but I probably shouldn't. I should leave that to a professional. And so it's kind of the same thing, there's always little DIY projects that sellers or buyers can do. But if you're going to do a major remodel, and you're not well versed in how to install tile or, frame a wall, call somebody.
Do electrical work?
Yes. You're going to save yourself so much money by calling the professional and having them do it than having to have them come in later and redo or undo what you've done.
Yes. And it's kind of amazing to me because there's so many things that we can learn how to do online.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean we need to do them. Right. So I actually went to a house not too long ago, and this wasn't even one of the worst ones I've seen, but instead of hiring an electrician to come in and splice the wires and install outlets where they should be installed, and they just started adding extension cords everywhere. So they would cut a hole in the wall and they put an extension cord over here. And what that does is, I know that you could get away with that for maybe 1 or 2 light fixtures, but when you start doing that with tons of them, what you don't realize is you're overloading the system, and now you're making so many things a fire hazard because you have wires strewn everywhere that they shouldn't be. Right. And it's so interesting to me that people would rather do that than just hire an electrician to do it the right way. But that's the kind of thing we see. But to put things in perspective, there's a lot of do-it-yourself projects that are fine. And what I think that when you're an inspector, when you're a real estate agent, when you're an appraiser, and you see things all the time, the bad, the really, really bad, from the not so bad. Right. So when people look and think, oh, my house is so terrible, I'm like, no, you don't know what terrible looks like.
No. If you want to know, go to SG Inspection Services and on Facebook, and you can find us, SG Inspections, and you can see some of the crazy stuff. Or you can go to our website and you can go to our gallery and you can see some of the crazy things that we see. I mean, Nathan posts stuff all the time, and it doesn't just happen in existing homes. We caution purchasers or buyers, when you're building a home, you need to work with an inspector, and there are multiple phases of the build, and so there's multiple phases of the inspection that needs to be done, and this is the best way to make sure that the home is performing as best as it can be from day one. And you'd be amazed at some of the things that we find. We performed thermal imaging on a home about a couple months ago, probably 2 or 3 months ago now, and one whole wall in a new construction home did not have any insulation. A whole wall. There is no insulation at all.
So before you go, what is thermal imaging?
So thermal imaging, it's also called thermography. So what that is how I kind of explain it is, you've seen a sonogram and you see that it's in black and gray. So thermal imaging detects heat signatures or the lack thereof. So instead of seeing grays and whites and blacks, you're going to see colors. And so you're going to see reds and oranges and greens and blues and violets. And what that does is it tells the inspector, when he's looking at it, if there is heat coming in. So let's say you have heat coming in through a window because it's not sealed properly. He's going to see those reds and oranges and yellows. Whereas if there's maybe some moisture coming in somewhere, he's going to see some blues and violets. And so it really just kind of tells him, it helps them see into the walls kind of, so that they can see what's going on. If there's moisture, if there's heat or lack thereof, they can kind of see what's going on. So it really provides kind of a heat signature almost. And so it was hot. So it just looked like a big red and orange wall because there was no insulation in there. So the home wouldn't have been properly cooling. They wouldn't have been able to figure out why. And it's little things like that. Whereas if they had had a phase 2 inspection, then we could have seen what was going on before all of that happened. So,
oh dear, that's
always
scary.
Call your inspector.
And to be clear, like that is not a normal inspection. Like I would totally suggest that for a new build, because that's something that they can fix and they should fix. Clearly, you're paying for a house to be built. That's something that needs to go on the walls. You're not going to go do that for every new owned home, and the thing is that, and we could get on a whole tangent about this, but the way that inspectors look at a house is they look at it with today's codes but with the perspective that it was built in a different decade with different codes.
Right.
So it's like, okay, this is out of code. It's deficient because it's
Right.
not within code, but this was also built in 1982. They didn't have codes like that back then.
Right.
So that's always kind of tricky for people that are buying a house. And that's why it's really important to have an inspector that is very good at explaining what an inspection report looks like, which
Right.
Nathan is amazing at doing, which is why I use him for all my inspections, because especially when you're a new home buyer and you've never owned a home before,
Yeah.
those inspection reports can be pretty daunting.
Yeah. And, Nathan is known for being really thorough. And so when you look at our website and you review our sample reports and you see that they're 30, 40, 50, 60 pages, you start to go a little cross-eyed. And, this is not, inspections in real estate is not my, this has not been my career in my life. This is something that when we decided to do this, I made the change into this. So I've learned over the years some of the things. And so when we decided to open this business, I really had to start digging deep and diving into some of the reports. And it was just like, I don't know how you explain some of this to people
Right.
and have them understand, because there's a lot of technical jargon that goes into it, and a lot of industry speak. And like you said, there's codes that are mentioned and things like that. And, code changes every 3 years. So they're having to constantly learn what the new code is and what it was, and just let people know that, yes, legally I have to mark it as this, but this is something that it's just an as-built condition. Don't have to stress about it. And so again, that's where having a really educated realtor and an educated inspector who can explain what they found really comes in handy.
Yeah, and any good inspector, and they cannot make determinations. There's only certain determinations they can make from the workability and the functionality of a system. But they are also not technicians in any of this. Well, they could be if they had that certification, but most inspectors are not HVAC technicians, nor are they electricians or plumbers. But they have the knowledge to be able to know that something is not working correctly or this is not going, but they don't know exactly what that might mean. So a lot of times on an inspection report, you'll see further, it's recommended that you speak to this technician further to further evaluate the problem, right. Or there might be foundation problems. You need to talk to a certified foundation specialist. And that can be a little bit overwhelming too, but all you want to see is, well, we talked to a foundation specialist. They said it's fine. Moving on. It's like, or do we need to have foundation work done? And sometimes people get really excited to kind of move on to the next thing. Right. And it can be easy to kind of overlook some of the things that you might want to pay attention to. And especially when it comes to flips, which we see a lot of, it could be very appealing to see all the beauty that they've put into this house, but then not having done anything underneath. And so having an inspection is just so very important. It's just incredibly important.
There's a lot of ways to hide things. And if, you with paint, with tile, with wallpaper, there's all kinds of ways, but an inspector is trained and has been certified to come in and to see past all of that. It's not about the cosmetics, it's about the condition. And so they come in as an unbiased third party, and that's why you hire them, because they're not emotionally attached to the property. They want to educate you as best as they possibly can so that you know either what you're walking into or what to walk away from. And, we never provide an opinion as to whether or not this is a home they should, or a purchase they should move forward with. That's a determination the buyer has to make. And that's a discussion that has to take place between realtor and buyer so that they can determine, is this right for them?
Absolutely.
We're here to just educate them.
So talking, with us being kind of in the midst of this COVID stuff, and I think a lot of people are kind of pivoting a little bit about maybe thinking about starting their own business or maybe starting to do that. I kind of want to talk a little bit about, because Nathan had worked for a company prior before you guys started your own company. And to the point that he was so requested by everyone all the time. He was like, maybe I should just start my own. I know that I did. I was like, is Nathan available? When is the next time that he's available? Because that's what we use. So you guys, how long have y'all owned Siteguard now?
So this is our 3rd calendar year of business.
Mm-hmm. But he was an inspector several years before that.
Yeah. So he's been in the industry as an inspector for almost 10 years, and he's been around the real estate industry almost his entire life. His mom has been a realtor for over almost 40 years now. And so he's grown up around that. He had friends whose parents were in real estate. And so he has learned kind of firsthand by watching them how to kind of make the situation a little easier and things like that. But yeah, before we decided to open our doors, he was with another company. They were a great company. They treated him well. Mm-hmm. It was time for us to do our own thing, and that was always the plan and the goal to do that. So hit the ground.
How did y'all go about? How long did it take y'all to make that decision and then kind of pull the trigger that it was time for you to do?
So it was probably, like 30 days or so. We really kind of put pen to paper as working with family or as a married couple, it can be challenging. And so we really had to sit down and evaluate our relationship and our skill set, because the last thing we wanted to do is get into this and it make things harder on us.
Yeah.
That's not to say that some days aren't hard working as a married couple, but we were friends before we ever became boyfriend and girlfriend and fiance and husband and wife. And so we know how to communicate with each other. We really sat down and put pen to paper and said, okay, what is his strengths? What is his drive for this business? What are my strengths and drive, and what can I bring to the business? And from there, it was like, okay, we can do this. And we started putting steps together, and it takes time because you have to file for your LLC. You have to get, your tax ID number. You want to build a website. You want to have email addresses and business cards and T-shirts and marketing and.
Yeah.
And so it takes a couple of months to put things together and to really make it ready so that first time you step out there and say, hey, we're a business, you are prepared and you're ready. And so we took a couple of months. I took a couple of months and built our website and just worked all the back end stuff while I was teaching preschool, and kind of just created things on the back end. And then it was time. We kind of set a deadline for ourselves when we sat down and we said, okay, this is when we want to be ready. And we didn't allow ourselves to waver from that. And you just have to, one thing I've learned when you own your own business is you really have to be focused, and you really have to have your to-do list. And even if you work from home, I'm sure you know this as well as anybody, when you work from home, you can't allow the distractions of what's going on with kiddos and family to pull you away too much. Yes, the luxury of working from home and owning your own business is you can kind of create your own schedule and time, but when it's time to work, it's time to work, and you do what you have to do so that you can go do what you want to do and go have fun.
Yeah, that's so very true. And what I will say also about you guys is y'all are always very good about, okay, now it's time for us to just go have a date night, or now it's time for us to go on a motorcycle ride, or now it's time for us just to go be ourselves, be married, and just not worry about all the other stuff, and have fun with friends. And that's, in my opinion, I think that's one of the hardest parts of when you're a married couple that's working from home, especially if you're working on the same business.
Yes.
To have that end point and go, okay, we're done as working partners. Now let's be married partners.
So, yeah, I mean, for the first year, it was definitely an adjustment because I went from working 50, 60 hours in a corporate career to stepping back and staying at home and then teaching preschool part-time to 90 to nothing, running an running our own business. And there was a lot for me to learn because I didn't know this industry. And so it was a lot of, when Nathan got home, us practicing, making sure that I knew what I could say, knew what I couldn't say, because, there's a lot of legal and legalities that go along with our business. As well as I do, as a realtor, you're only legally allowed to say so much. And as an inspector, so is Nathan. Seeing as how I don't hold a license as a realtor or an inspector, I can provide some general information, but I have to be real cautious to make sure that I'm not speaking out of turn. I'm doing anything. And so it took a lot of late nights. He would come home from inspections, and we're working until 8 or 9 o'clock for that first year, trying to make sure that we're on the same page, that we know what's going on, what are we doing, what's working, what's not working, how do we change it, how do we adjust it. And it was tiring. And we learned that sometimes you have to plan to be spontaneous. And that sounds really silly, but it's true. And so, like you said, sometimes we just have to say, okay, that's enough. We're going to get on the motorcycle and we're going to go ride for an hour. And when we stop, we'll check emails and we'll answer phone calls and we'll check back in. And then we're going to have a meal and we're just not going to answer the phone. And then we're going to get back on the bike and ride for another hour and we'll take care of business when it's done. But it's hard because you want to find that happy balance. But sometimes we get home and it's 8 or 9 o'clock and we're like, okay, all we've talked about is work. It's time to stop. Let's put on some Netflix and let's just relax.
Yeah. And y'all are it's interesting. The industry that y'all are in is, yes, what y'all do is you provide inspection services. But a lot of times your customers aren't just the people you're doing inspections for. It's also the real estate agents that you work with. And so there's always that fine line of, we want to make sure that we're giving everybody the best customer service as possible without everybody completely dictating our entire life all the time. And that's I think when you're in a service-based industry, that's the hard part is, and realtors feel like that too. It's like there have been times that I have texted you and it's been 9 o'clock because we had an offer accepted. And I'll say, Tiffany, do not respond to this. I know that it's late. I'm just texting you before I forget. And then you'll text me back and I'm like, don't text me. I just need to not text you.
Yeah, I have gotten those text messages and, it's real hard for me because like I said, I want to make sure that our clients are taken care of and our clients are not just the home buyers, they're our realtors too. And so it's real hard for me. I try to I think of all our realtors and clients as part of our SGIS family. I mean, they're just an extension of who we are. And the best customer service that I can provide them is to treat them like I would a family member. And if they reach out, I want them to know that we're sharing in this excitement with them. We're so happy that they executed their contract. We're so happy they're buying their first house. We also know it's super stressful. And I want to make sure that I'm that calm, happy voice on the other end of the phone for them or the other end of that text message. And so, yes, I do answer text messages late at night and I do respond, but it's because I want you guys to know that you are important to us and that we see you and we just want to make sure that you know that and that you're just taken care of.
It doesn't hurt that we're all kind of friends. And so it's like, and I say that because we are friends. We're not kind of friends. We are friends. But we're also colleagues that work together. So it's like sometimes there's that, oh, it's Jenna, or oh, it's Tiffany, or oh, it's Melissa, or oh, they're texting me and I want to talk to them because I just like them. And then it's also but this is also their personal time, Right. So it's so interesting in this industry how we all kind of commingle with each other. And then it can be really easy to kind of let that personal and / colleague line kind of blur,
Yeah.
and kind of go, do I really need to talk to her at 10:30 at night? No, probably not, but.
Yeah. And it's hard. Like you said, it's so hard. It's a balancing act, I mean, I love chatting with you and talking with you. So when you call, I'm like, oh, it's Jenna. And I get excited and I'm like, oh, my friend, yay. And then I'm like, oh, that's the work phone.
Yeah.
That's okay, because it's Jenna. I'm like, I miss her. I want to talk to her. And so it's hard because you build those relationships. You know, business is about that. Yes, we work in the same industry and we're colleagues, and we have to find that dividing line.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's not a friendship and a mutual respect there,
Right.
it's hard. And so, yeah, when you call at 9:00, even when you say, don't answer me, it's hard because I'm like, oh, it's my friend. Like, I just want to make sure you're taken care of.
Well, and it's so funny because as realtors, like, and I went through, you kind of go through these cycles where it's like, okay, I can have all listings, or I can have all buyers, or I can have a little bit of a combination, but I've gone through this cycle lately where there's been almost all listings and I haven't had any new buyers. Well, what happens is I don't get to talk to you guys as much.
Right.
As opposed to there's periods where, like last year, I had all buyers, and it was like almost every week, at least twice, I'd be like, got another inspection, and I get to talk to y'all all the time. But then other times it's like, it's not like that. And so I just had a contract executed yesterday. I was like, Tiffany, we're gonna be doing I was so excited because I got to talk to you, because it was just,
I know, it was awesome.
It's crazy. But like, I am curious, because you have always, I mean, it's like when you hit the ground running, you just knew how to, because there's a lot that goes into the software part of what y'all do. Like, for example, you have to be able to have the reports come out in a certain way. You have to be able to send them quickly. So there has to be a software system that creates those reports. You also have a really, really good system of reminders, email reminders and text message reminders. You're very good about like thank you notes and just the nuts and bolts of actually following up and staying in contact with clients with reminders. So there's a lot of, I'm sure, technology that you had to learn to be able to do this. Yeah. Did you find that to be daunting? Did you enjoy it?
So I'm kind of, what a lot of people probably wouldn't guess about me is I'm pretty nerdy when it comes to computer stuff and learning new systems. So in my previous career life, I was I worked in the corporate world, and so I was a buyer for Zales, and then I became a planner for Zales. And so in doing that, I had to learn a lot of reporting systems and Excel functions and how to kind of quickly navigate through things. And so it was really interesting to get to start learning the new software that we have to use for the business. And I told Nathan, just let me get my hands on it and try to break it. And I know the system that we use is great. It, you know, once I got it all set up and really understood it, then it was super easy to make sure our clients knew what we wanted. We talk to our realtors all the time and do surveys and just kind of ask them, is this too much? Is this not enough? We always want to make sure we're communicating and that everybody knows what's going on so that we don't show up somewhere and someone's caught off guard. And so once I learned it, now it's easy and I can navigate through it. Nathan was instrumental in me learning how to do that because he really had to sit down with me and teach me some things and walk me through it. And now, you know, not to toot my own horn, but I'm better at the system than he is. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely new software that I had to learn. I never had built a website before. And so I built our website, and it was there were a lot of expletives sometimes and a lot of frustration because I didn't always know what to do. And there's a lot of there's a lot of industry lingo that I didn't know that I had to learn. And it was like going back to school. And so some of it was fun. And then some of it, I was just like, oh, I don't want to have to do this again. But no, it's great. There is one software system that I don't utilize at all, that only Nathan utilizes. And it's a live software. It's how he builds his reports. Mm-hmm. And so he won't let me get my hot little hands on it to try and break that system and understand it better. But It's, it's how he builds his report. And so it's a live system and it's interactive. So if you mess up something, you have to know how you messed it up. Whereas with the system that I use for scheduling, it's a little easier. I can reach out to the IT team, who was probably completely tired of hearing from me in the first few months, and just be like, I think I broke something. Can you help me? What article can I read to fix this? Or just help in general. But it was fun. I mean, some of it was frustrating, but for the most part, it was really fun to learn because it was something completely different than what I was used to.
Yeah, it's I started going through and redoing my website as well, and there's a lot of people that are fine with just handing it over and saying, here's my stuff, build it for me. That's not my style. My style is I really need to know, like, and it sometimes it takes going through like building a website to understand, okay, what message am I really trying to send to the public? Like, what is the most important thing that I'm trying to do with this? Just like you said, jargon and lingo is very, very important. What am I trying to communicate? And how do I want this to be perceived, and how do I want it to be used? And sometimes you don't know that until you actually do it yourself. But it does take a lot of time. And I'm glad that I'm doing it like that. I'm learning about HTML codes, and I'm learning about, all of these things and how you have to, I mean, it's complicated when you start. It's very overwhelming. Mm-hmm. But once you kind of learn, it's kind of a cool thing that you learn, like you have that knowledge.
And it really teaches you, it was important for me to do this because of a few things. One, because I wanted to really understand our industry, and seeing as how yes, I've been around it because of friends and family, but I was now going to jump in feet first into the deep end and try to swim with with everybody. And so I wanted to do this because I wanted to know and understand what it is that he does. And then that way I can make sure that I am explaining it clearly every time. Two, and more importantly to me, was making sure that our brand identity was represented clearly and concisely across every page of our website. Nathan and I, it was always very important to us that people be able to, from across the room, know when they saw one of us or saw somebody who works with us, they were with Siteguard. I am one of the hashtags that you'll see a lot when I post on Facebook is hashtag the lady in blue. Our company colors are blue, green, and white. And so I'm always in blue in any marketing event that I go to. And when I don't wear it.
Oh my gosh, you are.
I am. Yeah. It was intentional. And so people are always like, if I've shown up and I'm not in blue, they're like,
what's wrong?
Are you okay? What's wrong? Like, what's going on? And so, we want to make sure that the color scheme is represented, and what's important to us is represented, and how we speak is how we really do speak. And so creating our website and our social media presence and everything, it was super important for me that we do that so that we knew every single time somebody clicked somewhere in our website, it was going to represent who we were.
Mm-hmm. Did you have to take any type of social media class or know how to do that?
I didn't have to, but I did. I did a lot of webinars. I did, I've been on Facebook for what seems like 1,002 years now because, I'm old.
Like MySpace, what? I don't even remember.
And so, I had an idea of how it worked, but when you're running your personal page and you're running a business page, it's very different. And so there are different algorithms that take place. And so I really had to understand that if I was going to make sure that we had the social media presence that we wanted to. And so that meant taking some webinars and really diving in and making sure I understood that, how many hashtags I need to use, when I need to use them, what type of hashtags I need to use. Am I covering all my bases? And then to know that not just across Facebook, but across Instagram and across Twitter and across YouTube. And, there's ever-changing, growing technology evolving. And, even now, with all of the COVID-19 stuff. And we're now doing Zoom classes or GoToMeeting classes and things like that. So how we're getting in front of people and how we're educating them is different now. And so, yeah, absolutely. I had to take classes. I had to learn, not because I didn't know already, but because utilizing it for business is so different than when you use it on a personal level.
Oh, it's totally, because you don't care. When you're on a personal level, you don't care how many people have seen your posts. You're just doing it because you enjoy it or, whatever. But it's like, when you're doing it for business, it's a totally different animal, because just like with hashtags are a whole thing. It's like, hey, if I don't need to use this hashtag, what is another one? Because the whole point of hashtags is to bring awareness to something that you're trying to do. And if those are not working, then you need to figure out what is. And that's all something that I'm trying to learn as well. And then also to learn, where are your customers actually at? Are they on Facebook? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is? Because there's a gazillion social media sites. You have to realize, like, where are your customers at? Who are you trying, what are your customers' ages? Who are you trying to talk to? What kind of audience are you trying to draw? And it can be, and we're saying all this and it can be really complicated. It gets easier as you go, but there's always going to be new things about social media that you're going to learn. But it's once you start to really learn it, then you really it boils down to a couple of things. Number one, don't waste your time doing things that nobody cares about. And number two, just be consistent. A lot of times, like, that's my biggest struggle, is being consistent with my marketing on social media sites.
Yeah, I have several business industry partners that I work with that we teach classes to, and the overall theme of it is be authentic, be yourself, don't be afraid to be human, don't be afraid to make mistakes, and realize that you're an evolving creation. Our business is ever evolving and changing, and so what worked 6 months ago may not be what works now, or it may be, and it may be a timeless thing. But you really have to stop and think when you post sometimes, is this what my people want to see? Is this what they really want? Is this educational? And what's the purpose behind me posting it? When we post about, I posted yesterday on our social media page, we had a class yesterday. And so the reason I post about those is because I want our realtors to know that it's not about just earning their business with performing inspections. It's about making sure that they really understand what's going on in the industry, and that we're here to be a true business partner for them. We're here to help them grow, because helping them grow helps us grow. And so I teach classes. Nathan teaches classes. We work with business partners who teach classes. And so, I mean, it a lot goes into business, but like you said, the more you do it, the more consistent you are, the easier it becomes, or at least it feels like it does sometimes.
I agree. And it starts to become second nature. And, there's a lot that I think that a lot of people don't realize how much mental energy you put into it in the beginning about, should I post this picture? I don't like the way I look in this picture. I don't like this video. I don't like the way that I talk in this video. Like, is my makeup perfect? Is blah, blah, blah. That's what you do in the beginning. And then it comes to, I'm wearing a sweatshirt, like a fleece sweatshirt right now. Like, I've done enough of these Zoom interviews that I'm like, man, nobody cares what I'm wearing. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's more important that's not the important part. And so I think that as you kind of go on, you start to forget all those things in the beginning that kind of kept you from doing the stuff that was really going to make you successful. And then you just kind of go like, okay, this is what I sound like today. It is what it is.
Right. I mean, there have been times when I record a video and I'm like, oh my gosh, I sound like I'm 12 and my voice sounds high pitched and squeaky. And then I'm like, okay, take a breath. Yes, you want to come across as happy and cheerful because you're sharing really cool news or really exciting news, but that doesn't mean you have to sound like you just sucked in a helium balloon. And so, you redo it. And then after time you realize, you know what, look, I'm not a Kardashian. I'm not an Instagram star or a YouTube star. I'm Tiffany Ross. I'm owner of Siteguard Inspection Services. And I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a boss, I'm a daughter, I'm a book nerd, a craft geek, and I'm just a normal person, just like everybody else. And so it's just my job to be a normal person and to put the information out there that they want. Because what's really important to them is the information that I can give them about our business and our industry. They don't care if my hair is a little frizzy or if my makeup may not be perfect. And you learn that over time, like you said.
Yeah, you start to kind of lose a little bit of that self-conscious type of thing where it's like you're more concerned about the content. You're less concerned about how you look when you talk about it. And right. I think that's really important. And so how has, and I know we only have a few more minutes, but like, how has y'all's industry changed, and what kind of precautions are y'all having to take in the midst of all this?
So yeah, so our industry, just like several others, have been impacted by the coronavirus or COVID-19, whatever you want to call it. And we normally, when we do an inspection, we tell clients they're welcome to be there the whole time, come in, measure for furniture, window treatments, hold paint samples up to the wall, figure out kind of what they want to do. And now, as a safety precaution for our clients, the sellers, our inspectors, our realtors, we have started doing virtual presentations. And so that includes presentations like this, like us doing this Zoom meeting now, or doing a conference call or FaceTime with the clients and sending them the report so that we're now going over that with them in a virtual setting so that everybody stays safe. Mm-hmm. It also means carrying disinfectant wipes and utilizing things like N95 masks, which there's some boxes back there. Those are masks and gloves for the inspectors to wear when they go on presentations and inspections. And, because when we go into a house, we're not just going in for the buyer to perform the inspection, we're also displacing the seller. And so we don't know what kind of life they have, and we don't know what kind of family they have. Are there people in their home high risk? Or are they not? Do they have kids? Do they have elderly? We don't know that. And so it's our job and our responsibility to keep ourselves and our staff as safe as possible, but also to keep them as safe as possible too. So gloves, masks, shoe covers, hand sanitizing, disinfecting stuff, making sure that we're taking every precaution possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so weird how fast it changed like that. Mm-hmm. And it's like you have to pivot on a dime in a situation like this, and especially when you're in the real estate business and you're number one, you're around a bunch of people as you're showing houses, or you're doing all these presentations. You're going in and out of other people's houses where people live, or you're the seller that has people coming in and out of your house that you don't know. And it's like, is Nathan home?
Yeah, he just walked in the door.
I saw a shadow.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. I'm zooming. Woo woo.
Woohoo! Zoom. The Zoom crashing our party. God. I'm just kidding.
Things have definitely changed, because a lot of times when Nathan goes into an inspection, the sellers could be home. There could be additional contractors there, painters, flooring people, HVAC technicians, and any number of things. And so we've now had to just take additional precautions and make sure that he's protected as much as possible, and that we're doing everything we can to protect those who are in the home and those who could potentially go in the home.
Hey, Nathan, did you, because I went and showed a house for the first time in a few weeks, like, I guess it was last week, and it made me nervous. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I am not a germaphobe by any stretch of the imagination.
I'm sitting up for our interview here. I'm putting my glove on. There we go. All right. I'm sanitary. I can talk to you now.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you for taking those precautions. But did you?
No, we do. We, I'll put the gloves on, and I'll put the, the respirator mask if necessary, and been bringing little hand sanitizers, and I wash my hands. I mean, I do that anyway. Wash my hands, a lot at the inspection. But now, probably 10, 12 times. Like every time I pass the sink or I pass one of the restrooms, and I'm inspecting it, I'm washing my hands in it too. Just to be careful. and just be safe.
We all grew up here. Have you seen the memes that are like, I washed my hands so much I saw the stamp on my hand from Cowboys? I've uncovered the stamps from Cowboys but it was hard for me to go. Like, it was hard for me to go show that first house because and it kind of makes me a little nervous that people that have been inside and haven't had to get out in the midst of all this, it's that first time that they're going to have to go back to work or go do something. It's kind of a mental obstacle to overcome. Would you agree?
Well, it is, and we'll go to the inspection, and normally first thing I do is we meet each other in the front yard a lot of times, so I'll handshake, and now we go and we start to handshake, and then we're like, elbow or
tap shoes
or
long distance high five.
yeah, we do. And I've actually done several of those, like, and we just call it out, be like, hey, it's awkward. I know it's kind of a weird time. And we just try to do what we can, but it's strange. And then you can tell that they've been cooped up in the house for a while, or the apartment, or wherever they're staying, because they're so hungry for that people interaction, and they just and they kind of have a tendency to follow anyway during an inspection, which is fine, but now it's even more so. But they want to talk about anything, like, what have you been eating? What are your favorite colors? And I'm just like,
tell me about your birth story. Where were you born?
Yeah, for real. But we've kind of limited. I feel bad, but I don't know if she told you.
Yeah.
We've tried to limit the amount of people going to the inspection. But even if we can limit it on our side, which stinks because we should provide customer service for the buyers more than anybody because they're our clients. But they're the ones that we're kind of negatively affecting, positively by we're saving their health, but negatively because they're not getting as much of the interaction. But then we go to the inspection and the sellers are still there. And the sellers, they got mom, dad, grandma, kids, because everybody's home now. So, it's like, if you didn't try to separate some kind of way, think of how many people would be in that house.
Mm-hmm.
So I think legally right now you're supposed to have 10 people or something.
No, and it was difficult as husband and wife who also work together, and it was hard because we not only want to make sure we're taking care of our clients and our realtors and protecting our staff, but also protecting the sellers, but we also have to protect ourselves. I
can't bring home the cooties.
Yeah, we have family here too, and we have a son, and we have family down the street, and some of them are in high risk categories. And so it was not an easy decision as business owners or as a family to make those determinations to put some healthy distance there. And so it was difficult. And so, like I said before, we're doing everything we can to make sure that they feel cared for by providing virtual presentations, or, if they really want to be present, just limiting the number of people that are there and just doing it in a healthy way.
Yeah, it is hard. It's very, very difficult. But it's, people still want to buy houses right now. Like, a lot of people still want to buy houses, and a lot of people still want to sell houses. And some people are saying, we're going to wait till all this is over, but a lot of people don't want to wait. They're ready to take advantage of all that stuff.
Well, because the interest rates are phenomenal right now.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. I talked to Cynthia earlier. I said, what is the refinancing rate right now? She's like 2.75%. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That is, that's refinance, but even new buy, it's crazy. Yeah. And I hope that all this starts to come to an end soon, because I have, like, you were talking about how people just want to follow you around. Can you imagine, like, what the bars and restaurants are going to look like?
The malls and,
the nail salon.
Oh
my gosh.
I can't. Your video on how to take your fingernails off and do it, like, in a healthy way, God bless you, because otherwise I would have looked like a hot mess. I had to take my fingernails off at home, and I miss my nail lady so bad. I cannot wait to go see her and visit her.
Well, when I started all this, Brooke had just done my hair, and now you can see that it's starting to get a little dark towards the roots. And I'm like, what can I do that kind of helps this a little bit? But Man, it's just crazy. But I know that some of the first people that we're all going to be hanging out with is each other.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Backyard beer and barbecue.
Oh man, it's just going to be like a party. Like I saw some meme. It was like, after all this is over, this is going to be the best St. Patty's de Mayo, July 4th of all time. Like all the holidays that we've missed throughout all this.
Think of all the sporting events too, that have been postponed.
Oh yeah.
Normally you've got like baseball at one part of the year and basketball at another part of the year. It's just going to be summer, fall, and winter. You're going to have everything.
Oh my gosh.
April and Olympics. I think they got.
I mean, there's going to be so much sports on TV. You're not even going to know what to do. I mean, you're going to have to record something because you're going to not be able to watch all of it. You have to have a different game on in each room
Live
of the
events,
house.
Sports shows.
Yeah.
I think, well, actually, I've heard a lot of people talk about, I think they call it the V curve, about whenever this thing is over. Normally when you go into a recession, it slowly climbs and goes back up. Well, now it sunk really fast, but it's going to skyrocket really fast as well. And I totally believe that. So I think whenever we are out of this, I think our industry is going to just be phenomenal because we're going to get a rush of people because everybody's been sitting on it for a quarter, and then they're eager to spend money and they want to go out and have change in their life and all these dreams that they've envisioned over the last couple months, they're going to put it into fruition. And I really, really think that, society as a whole, but I think our business, I think, will probably do pretty good.
I don't think people are going to be prepared for how it's going to bounce back. I think people are going to, like, I thought about this the other day. I thought all these servers that have been out of work are literally probably going to make $4,000 the first week that they go back. People are like, take my money. I'm just so happy to be out to eat. And I truly, truly mean that. I really do.
Yeah. I can't wait to be able to go to a Mexican food restaurant and have chips and salsa.
Margaritas.
It's just not the same going and picking it up from somewhere and bringing it home. It isn't. The camaraderie is not the same. It's just not the same experience. And so we're really looking forward to being able to go and do that with friends and family. But no, I think it's going to be crazy. I don't think people are going to be prepared. We're doing everything we can on our end from a marketing perspective and just a business perspective to be prepared for when that happens. But I think you're right. I think it's going to be just chaos, a new kind of chaos, happy chaos.
Happy chaos. And I'm so glad that we've had such beautiful weather, but it's almost kind of cruel because I'm like, there's an On the Border right across 30 that has the best patio of all time. Like, why are we not being able to go over there? It's beautiful. It's just like, we'll go down to the dog park and you'd think that we were having some kind of a party with the person on the other side. Like, how are you doing? It's so good to see you.
Yeah, everybody starts shaking hands again.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, I love you guys so much. Y'all are two of my favorite people. So I'm just so glad. I'm glad that you got to be on it for a little while, Nathan.
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So, all right, y'all have a great day. We'll talk to you later.
Bye, Jenna. Thank you.
Oh, wait. Where can people find you? We didn't even answer that.
Oh. Absolutely. So they can find us at sginspectionservices.com. They can find us on Facebook at SG Inspections. They can find us on Instagram at SG Inspections, YouTube, Twitter. You can find Nathan and I individually on Facebook and on Instagram. You can call our office, 972-979-7346.
Or when it all fails, Google Siteguard Inspection Services.
There you go. I'll make sure that I put all y'all's links on everything, and you can share it and all that good stuff because y'all are awesome. Y'all are the best. I just love you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Talk soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.